Hello, Ace English Language. This is our class about magazine articles. We're going to walk through the characteristics of magazine articles, the structure of magazine articles, and we're going to take a very close look at a magazine article and complete Lesson 35. Let's start with the characteristics of magazine articles. First of all, magazine article is the name that Cambridge gives to this particular kind of writing. Americans tend to call these features or human interest stories. Let's start by reviewing news articles, which are a different kind of writing we've talked about. News articles, not magazine articles, appear in a newspaper and they deal with current events, something that happened yesterday. Magazine articles, on the other hand, can appear in a magazine or a newspaper, but they don't deal with necessarily current events or something that happened yesterday. They are stories about how people live their lives. Since we call them human interest stories, think about what interests humans. Humans tend to be interested in stories about other people. They have a headline because they're in a newspaper or a magazine. They have a byline. They're in third person point of view, and they use a diamond structure. Whereas a news article uses an inverted pyramid structure that starts with whatever's most important and ends with whatever's least important. A diamond structure, on the other hand, begins and ends with a human connection to the topic. In the middle, the background is developed along with more human connection, expert testimony, facts, and data. And then at the end, we return to the human connection. There's quotations because it's an article from those affected and involved, and the quotations are where you will get opinion. The author remains neutral. The idea is to weave people's stories, expert testimony, and facts and data for all sides into short paragraphs, and each time you quote someone new, you start a new paragraph. Make sure you wrote down the characteristics of a news article, and now we've moved on to lesson 35 with the structure of a news article. So you can see that diamond structure in play. The idea is that, sorry, we're talking about magazine articles here. The idea is that a magazine article starts with some sort of a human connection to the topic, and it also ends with a human connection to the topic. So let's say that your magazine article was about how much homework students have these days. You're going to start by telling the story of Bob Joe, who takes Cambridge classes at Western High School, and he has 5 hours of homework every night, and it's causing him a lot of stress and a lot of pressure on his social life. You might quote Bob Joe in there somewhere as well as you start to tell about his story. So you're opening with that human connection. Then you're going to look at side A. So if we're talking about students having a lot of homework, one side of that is the student's side. And let's say we want to explore the stress that students are under first. So we're going to create a section of our article where we have maybe some human connection. Maybe there's a little bit more about Bob Joe and the stress that he's under, or maybe we talk to another student who's under stress. There's going to be some expert testimony. Maybe we have a quote from a psychologist who treats students who are under this kind of stress. And then we're going to bring in some facts and data, like 80% of all students in high school do more than 3 hours of homework a night. We bring these in through a series of quotes and paraphrasing to create this section of the article. And keep in mind, this section is going to be more than one paragraph. If we were writing an essay, this whole thing would be one paragraph, but because it's an article, more than one paragraph. Then it's time for us to bounce to the other side. So the other side is why students have so much homework. So maybe one aspect of that is getting into college. So we're going to have perhaps a human connection in there from Sally, who just got into University of Florida and she attributes it to the 5 hours of homework that she did every night. We'll have some expert testimony. An admissions officer from University of Florida says that the students that he admits tend to do a lot of homework, and he thinks that is a good indicator of how well you're going to do in college. And maybe some facts and data. In college, freshman students tend to do 25 hours of homework a week. So you're going to bring that all in with quotes and paraphrasing. Then we're going down here. It's time to bounce back to side A. So you can follow the arrows. And side A is the student side again. So here we're going to develop the social aspects of having too much homework, how it affects a student's social life. And again, we'll do that through human connection, expert testimony, and facts and data. And keep in mind, you don't have to have all of these in every section. And then we're going to bounce to side B, which is the not student side. In this case, maybe we're talking about the job market, and homework creates a discipline in students that helps them to do better in the job market, not just at finding a job, but keeping a job and doing well at a job. And we'll bring that in through human connection, expert testimony, and facts and data. Now we've finished the body of our article and it's time to wrap it up. If this were a news article, we would just end. But since this is a magazine article, we need to bring the story full circle. So we go back to Bob Joe, whom we talked about at the beginning, and maybe we talk about where his story is now. Maybe he is still working really hard and he is still under a lot of stress, but he did just get into Yale with a full scholarship. We end with that human connection. And notice, guys, everything that I just talked about that I plan to include in my magazine article, I just made up off the top of my head. On the Cambridge exam, that's really all you can do when you don't have access to an article or some sort of source material. Just make it sound good. I'm still on lesson 35, but I'm going from the diamond that we just looked at to step 2, where I'm going to, on a piece of paper, create my own diamond. You can print this out or you can just create this diamond on your own piece of paper. So pause while you take care of that. I'm still on lesson 35, but I'm going to our article for today, which is called What Happened When Walmart Left. And this is an article in The Guardian. It's from several years ago. I think it's from 7 years ago. And we are going to be reading this article. And as we read, we're going to be completing this diamond with some notes about how we see the characteristics of the genre and the structure as we go through. So when we read the beginning of the article, we're going to be looking right here in this upper diamond. And we're going to be taking notes on how the piece opens. Remember, the piece opens with some sort of human connection, so you're going to be looking for that human connection. The article is called What Happened When Walmart Left, and the subheading is In West Virginia, the people of McDowell County can't get jobs and recently lost their biggest employer, the local Walmart store. They describe the devastating loss of jobs, community, and access to fresh food. Notice we also have a byline by Ed Pilkington, and we have a place line, McDowell County, West Virginia. Now I'm going to start reading. Remember, you're filling out the top triangle in that diamond. When Walmart left town, it didn't linger over the goodbyes. It slashed prices on all its products, stripped the shelves bare, and vanished, leaving behind only the ghostly shadow of its famous brand name and gold star logo on the front wall of a deserted shell. The departure was so quick that telltale signs remain of the getaway, like smoldering ashes in the fireplaces of an evacuated town. Notices still taped to the glass entranceway record with tombstone-like precision the exact moment that the supercenter was shuttered. Store closed 7 p.m. Thursday, 28 January 2016. 10 years. That's all the time it took for the store to rise up in a clearing of the lush forest of West Virginia's coal country and then disappear again as though it had never been there. But for the people of McDowell County, proud country folk laboring under the burdens of high unemployment, low income, and endemic ill health, even such a fleeting visit to this rural backwater by the world's largest retailer had a profound impact, both in the arrival and in the hasty leaving. Wanda Church was present for both of these bookends for the Walmart story. one of the few workers who helped set up the store in October 2005 and then gut it 10 years, 3 months, and 2 days later. She remembers the feeling of excitement and expectation as they stocked the Supercenter for the very first time, turning it in just 20 days from an empty building into a teeming cathedral of retail capitalism. It was amazing what we were able to do, stocking the shelves from nothing to full in such a short time, she said, talking as she waited for her car to be repaired at a gas station over the road from the disused store. As if to underscore her enduring attachment to the corporation, she was wearing one of her old Walmart t-shirts. She was there, too, at the Supercenter on that fateful day last year when she and her fellow Walmart workers walked out of the store for the last time. We were all crying. It was a sad day for a lot of people. It was a sad day for me. I spent more of those 10 years at Walmart than I did in my own home. I'm going to pop back over here to my diamond. Remember, I'm working up here and I'm going to take some notes. What human connection was offered in that opening section? Write it down. You should be writing the name of a person who was talked about in that first section. Now, also include what that person's connection was to the topic. Remember, the topic is Walmart. What is this person's connection to Walmart? So now you have some notes up here at the top on the human connection at the beginning of this article. I'm going to pause this video now, and you're going to pick up again in part 2 of this video, which will be a different video. So pick up on part 2. See you soon.